guys, and welcome back to The Thoughtful Advocate. I'm your host, Elizabeth Teo, and this is where the show starts to change. So, we all want to change the world, but most of us don't know where to start. So, I'm sitting down with the Thoughtful Advocates, the people who are turning hope into action. And today's guest is a perfect example of that, Kelly Nguyen. Yay! I'm so excited to have Kelly Nguyen here. She's one of my old time friends. And Kelly, do you want to pronounce your last name? Just because I've heard the last name Nguyen pronounced like several different ways actually. And
Yeah.
I recently heard a statistic that 40% of Vietnamese people have this last name. So that's pretty cool. You're carrying like a big legacy that connects you across many people.
I know.
So,
Yeah. So I pronounce it Wang. That's the
Okay.
way my family pronounces it. I also have heard different pronunciations too, and I didn't know there were different pronunciations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me either. Okay. I'm not gonna attempt that because that was like
It's
so
okay.
professional.
No, it's all right.
I love that. So thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of want to talk about like how we first met. From my memory, I have a different section for, I guess, what you recall, but I would just try to recall what I remember because my memory is a little hazy. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we met back like in our robotics days at SAMI, the Science and Math Institute in high school. So our school, instead of having like football and soccer and all these other sports, we had robotics. And I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty sick and pretty much tells you all you need to know about our school. It's a very nerdy and sciencey and math school, which is in the name. So yeah, that's where we met, and that was what, 10 years ago?
But wait, no, even longer, because if you graduate 2014, I started my freshman year in 2009, so we met in 2010 or 2011.
So,
So,
oh my gosh,
almost
that's
15
crazy.
years. We met before high school graduation.
True.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, you were the first to experience this school, so I thought that was pretty cool. So, since then, Kelly's journey has taken her from science and technology to the halls of state government, where she works behind the scenes, shaping the laws and policies that affect us all. So I'm very interested on hearing about your current work and what you do, and we'll dive into that, of course. And specifically in this episode, we'll explore what it means to be a thoughtful advocate within government, how change really happens, and how everyday people, including you listening right now, can make a difference, no matter where you are in the world. All right, so let's just dive into this story with Kelly, and I'm excited. Okay, I told you my memories from when we first met, and I just feel like you have a better memory than I do.
Is that my grandma brain? It just holds on to things a little different.
What is your memory from when we first met?
I think a lot of my early memories, like from robotics, but I do remember, I have one small memory of meeting you at camp. So for those who
thought so.
Part of our school's culture is that for the first 3 or 4 days of the school year, the whole school is at camp together. And we all get to meet the new freshmen. We all get to bond in our mentor groups. And our school had a sister school that when you had a new class of freshmen come in, you take on like a mentee, but we just call them freshmen. Basically, who's your freshman this year? It was just a way of building family stuff, but because my class was the first class, we were like, oh, this first class of freshmen. So we were all like trying to fight our mentee. We're like, this one's mine. How many freshmen do you have that are mentoring? It was like a way to build like a family, basically. You were like, so that's why like sometimes Elizabeth will now call me grandma, because my family tree starts with Elizabeth, some of her friends, and then their younger class. But I remember I was searching around. I think Christian might have picked you as a freshman first, and I was like, actually, I want her to be my freshman, and or something. And I think that's like my earliest memory at camp. I remember meeting you at camp for a brief moment, and then later on, I was like, yes, I got her.
No, that's awesome. Do you feel like that whole like picking a freshman or a mentee, do you feel, because you were also in a sorority, right? In college? Okay. Do you feel like it's picking, what is it, like a big...
In some ways, I feel like in some ways it has some similarities to it, right? So there's a lot of girls and everyone wants a little, and so you just try and match. For us, it's like the behind the scenes. You get to put in how our sorority work was. Like, you get to be like, I would like these girls I really connected with during the recruitment process. And then, like, the government and our mentors, our alumni mentors will be like, okay, let's see what really matches and we'll rank it out. So sometimes you get someone you didn't necessarily pick because there's just not enough people, but then you develop a really special bond with them, and sometimes it's, we have enough girls, you can get the one that you want. And so it's a little bit more regimented, where Sammy was like a free-for-all. It was like
the Hunger Games.
It was more like the Hunger Games. Like, I haven't seen you before, you're new here, come with me, I'm gonna show you something. Sammy was a lot less regulated, lots of rules, processes. But I think I felt it when I went to my sorority, and they explained this whole thing about family, your inner family within your sorority. I was like, I know this already. I know what it means.
No, that's really cool that you were part of sorority. I would have never thought, but I think it's a really cool experience.
Me either.
That not a lot of people know about. So I know it's not what the question, so I hope that didn't
No, it's okay. I was like, I was the last person to ever join sorority. I didn't even intend to join sorority. I just heard they had some events with some free food.
That's the way to get people in.
And honestly, no one would tell me anything about them. I'd ask, I'd be like, what's the difference between these organizations? They're like, just come to this event and you'll find out, and we'll have food. So I came and I kept going to more events. And then I was like, wow, I'm already in the process of joining you, and I like you. Guess I'll just do this.
That's crazy. So very like natural progression. Like you.
It was. I had no intention. I had no intention of joining it. And I was like, I did find cool people. So I guess this is going to work out for me.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess we can go. Oh, yeah. I think one of my other questions was, so going back to high school, what was one of your favorite memory from high school, and what makes that time so special for you?
Wow. I have honestly so many memories, but I think one of my favorite times was probably lunch hour, because our high school was in a park, for those that don't know. And we would climb up in the trees and sit in the branches to eat lunch. And it was just so nice to be in nature with everyone, and just like the nerdiness of our high school, like everyone really got to embrace their inner nerd. You had the magic card playing people, you had the outdoors environmental people, you had the math people, the science people, the art design people, the robotics kids. It's like just everyone really had their niche and was allowed to flourish. And during lunchtime you really saw people go and do their passions, or someone's working on a project. It was just really cool. I think it like that way. I think, yeah, I have so many, like sitting in a tree during lunch with everyone, and then our PE was like walking on the beach, hiking through trails. Just like my family was not outdoorsy. We never camped, we never hiked. So I really learned about the environment and the outdoors through high school and through PE. I learned so much, and it was just such an eye-opener and gave me such a appreciation of nature and like the beautiful parks and land that we have here. And I think that magic and appreciation for that has never left me. So I think that was really impactful. I don't know, so much, because we went to school and park. When it was snow, we didn't have sleds, so we would steal like trash can lids and trash bags and try to sled down the hill. And obviously it doesn't work. You end up rolling like a dead body down. But we were like, it's snowing, we at school in a huge park, let's do something. Just like the
so crazy
adventureness, I think, of our school's classmates, right? Everyone was down for a change in a plan, for adventure, just wished to find something new and exciting. I think that just meant for a lot of really spontaneous, cool side quests that you go on your high school thing.
For sure. No, that's such a good way to describe it. I feel like the whole school was like, every day we're going on an adventure or a new quest, and it was just so fun to see people, because usually when you go to a normal high school or even a middle school, you get bullied for liking like D&D or nerdy things. Like, but at our school, everyone was a nerd, so who are you gonna bully?
If you're the bully, we're gonna bully you. Get out of here.
99% of us. No, I love that, and I feel like a lot of us found our people in high school, because a lot of people say, "Oh, college is the best time." But I don't know, for me, it just wasn't. Like, I feel like it was just so much easier to meet people through, like, our high school, because it was just so much smaller, and people were just more open to talking about things. And I feel like the experience itself, like camp, like the things our teachers made us do. I remember in calculus, we would go outside and do all sorts of weird activities that helped us learn that, like, I feel like that helped us bond more than in big university settings.
It did. I felt like our high school had a really big focus on you're in charge of your education, but also community. Like, they would say the word community so many times. Sometimes us would make fun, be like, here's the C word again, community. Because when you're teenagers, you're just like, oh my gosh. But as an adult, you realize, like, it's really rare to be in institutions of learning or just any place now that really does focus on community building in a really genuine way that teaches empathy and respect for one another. Like, I think, it was really cool how we were all dedicated to that. And once we like understood the importance of that, you know, what you pass on to your freshmen, what you do in your mentor group. And I think that has made us, as I've gotten older, I really appreciate that, because now in times as an adult, with all these issues happening around, one of the first things you need to do is find your community for that issue, that topic, or reach out to your community. How are you a part of the community? And I think our high school laid a really good foundation for us to really understand that in a different way.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like, especially now, once you leave the school setting, you go into like work or anything else. But once you become a true adult, it's so hard to find your community, because unless you're really putting yourself out there and joining clubs, or like maybe you're joining a book club or something like that, it's hard to find people, because you're not forced into a situation where you go to school with the same people every day. So you familiarize yourself with those people and you make connections.
Do I ask my coworker to hang out after work? But then you're like, I only see you and my family. It feels really strange as an adult to try and put yourself out there in a different way, and it's extra vulnerable.
It is. And I guess I want you to talk more about your experience with robotics, because I'm guessing there was robotics the first year, right? Yeah.
The
So
first
tell
year,
me, what was your experience with robotics? Start from the beginning. Like why
the
did you
beginning,
like
okay.
join?
I'm
The
gonna
beginning
be
of
honest.
time.
When I went to Sammy, I thought I was gonna be a marine biologist, like every 12-year-old person interested in science. We just picked my marine biology. I don't know why, but I really was not good at math. I had no interest in robotics or engineering at all. I just thought that was not for me. I don't know, and I honestly got roped into going to robotics after school. They said, we just need people on this team. You don't have to do anything. That's a lie. But I went and I was like, oh, actually, this is cool. How you can build little machines that solve problems. And it doesn't seem as hard and intimidating as I thought. You don't have to be like this math whiz. You don't have to be a prodigy to do this. You don't have to be a video game kid. Anyone can do this. It's just problem solving and teamwork. And I think that kind of made robotics and tech and engineering stuff, instead of being this really intimidating thing, I did not think of myself as like a nerd in that way, in that like right brain leaning aspect, and made me like, oh, I can also do this. I have an aptitude for this as well. And yeah, that first year, we just built the robot. I think we did go to a competition, like a really small competition, and we wore our highlighter orange shirts. We didn't do good in the competition. I think we came in dead last or second to last, but it was fun.
That's okay.
For the process, just to learn and see all these other kids doing it, and it really made me think, get me interested in problem solving and just think about the machinery of my everyday life. And that's really how I got into STEM. Before that, I wasn't really, my science was really, I was interested in biology and the environment and more healthcare spaces. I wasn't really interested in the tech spaces. And so it was a really big learning curve environment, also because I hadn't spent my middle school years programming or playing video games or gaining these skills. So when I started high school, like our first year as robotics team, we had a huge range of people. It really was open. Like some people were like, I know I want to do this. I've been preparing for this. And our people were like me, who are like, oh, I heard this is cool. I was just told to show up, just seeing what's about. And so it was really nice. You got to see everyone learn and grow and get excited about it. And I think that was what was really cool about it. It kept me going through robotics over the years. Our robotics team was actually really unique in that all the leadership positions were held by women, girls at the time. And like our team captain, whatever, I think only one or two boys was in like the executive, held an executive position. So
that's awesome.
That was really cool to be in that space as well. There was quite a few girls in robotics, and yeah, I think that just made it such a welcoming and friendly environment that we set that tone of leadership, that kind of equality in such normally a really dominated male field. And when we went to competitions, we got to see how other teams function and how some teams were all boys. They only had one girl, and be like, wow, I'm so glad we're so unique in this way. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's sick. I think, and also back to what you said earlier, it's okay that you guys came in dead last. Like that was the first year of any of you guys like doing anything related to this. I still think that's awesome that you guys just showed up and tried because yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say that, yeah, I didn't know that a lot of the leaders in your robotics teams were female. I think that's really cool because when you think of people in robotics, you just think of like boys, like nerdy boys in glasses going to state competitions, not girls. And so that's also a really unique thing. And based on what you said earlier, I feel like this experience helped you. Because I think when you, correct me if I'm wrong, you went to university and you studied, wasn't it a cross-section between like computer science and like anthropology?
When I went to college, I was really interested in tech's impact on issues in the world, how it can influence our society. So yeah, I studied computer science and physics. I was going to do like a engineering degree, and I wanted to double major in anthropology. I thought the interdisciplinary education was really important for me and my understanding of the disciplines in the world and how they impact each other. I think that was left over from Sammy. Sammy did a lot of science and art and science and social science, like interdisciplinary stuff. So it was really built in. It was really natural to be like, it's not just science, it's science and art, it's science and this or whatever. And when I went to college, I realized not a lot of people thought that way, actually. Not a lot of people understood why I was doing that or why it was important to me. The college I went to was a very traditional college, big lectures, taught straight from the textbook. It was not a hands-on interactive education. So it was a really hard shift. And also the physics and computer science departments were mostly boys. I was like, I went from a space where there was enough girls to be like, where are my girls at? Where are you guys? I joined physics clubs, and I was like the only girl and the only freshman girl, and I was like, hello? Anyone here?
I'm alone.
It was just such a shock, and it was just so weird to go from such like a progressive educational space to something really. I wasn't prepared for what the real world was outside of our bubble of high school. Not in the way that college was hard, just like the social dynamics and the gender imbalance that I was going to face in these fields. I was not prepared for that. And so it was really interesting. I tried to fight not to become the secretary in the physics club. They're like, you just have better handwriting. I'm like, I don't know. You're making me type everything on Google Docs. Does it matter? My handwriting matters.
No, of course they have to put you in the genderized roles.
Yeah. And so it was just like, it was a huge, learning curve. And also just education-wise, like a lot of them were just single majors in physics and stuff. They didn't really, I was like, the discussions were different. The discussions were technical and more sciencey. Some of them were really nice and cool, but some of them were like just the typical people that you meet, in computer science or physics or engineering. And so, it was a huge learning curve. Yeah. And also me trying to like work with my professors. I was like, hey, I noticed like a lot of people in our class are bored and this is hard. What if you did this more hands-on and more interactive this way? I would ask them, I was like, because in Sammy, you're so used to partnering with your teacher being like, hey, this would be a cool idea if we did something like that. Or I had this question. And these professors would be like, this is the introductory class. It's a weed out class. Maybe once you get to the higher levels, but no, basically no. And I was like, but don't you want us to be excited? Don't you want us to learn?
Where's the passion, the fire?
It was like such a different environment. I studied computer science and anthropology. And then halfway through trying to work within that traditional education system of college, just double majoring. But it was just really hard to have control over my education the same way. It was really hard to have my classes intersect the same way. And I just wasn't getting what I really wanted out of my education at that point. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to double major, then triple minor to get all this information that I think would make me a really great engineer in the world that's really well-rounded, that thinks really responsibly, ethically. And I just was like, there has to be a better way to do this. So halfway through college, I transferred to University of Redlands, to their Johnson Center specifically. There's a few colleges in the United States that still do alternative education, like SAMI does. And at Johnson Center, you got to make your own major, but you got to make your own curriculum and partner with teachers and decide your projects. It was a lot more free-flowing. And I just like that a lot more, just to go from something so rigid to something a lot more open. So I did the second half of my college education there, and I ended up doing my degree in bioengineering, public health, and sociology. Going to like the biotech healthcare space and trying to solve health inequity was really my goal when I was leaving college and studying for the last 2 years. So that was like my journey through the higher ed system, and it was really cool to take whatever classes I wanted. As long as I got the professor to be like, you don't need this prereq, I was in. It was really nice.
No, that's a really cool experience. Sorry, did you say what college you went to before Redlands? Because I just thought you went to Redlands, so I didn't know.
No, I went to the University of Puget Sound in Tacoma.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I went to UPS. Yes.
I remember that now. I remember like you were paying a hefty sum for.
Yes.
It was expensive, right? Because it's a private university.
It's private. Both of my colleges were private, unfortunately.
Okay, both of them are.
But I had a really good scholarship, like financial aid package from UPS. So that helped for the first 2 years of student loans. And then Redlands was a completely different ballgame. They didn't have the same values at UPS in recruiting like first generation students and stuff. So I didn't really get as good as financial aid package. But at that point, I was like, I just need to go.
I gotta get out of here.
I was like, I'm not happy here. I might as well be happy somewhere else. I'm still getting debt either way. Whatever.
Yeah, so
get
true.
This degree and get
Might as
out.
well be happy and in debt.
Yeah, I know. I was like, if I'm going to be paying this back, I want to think it was worth it. That it was for something.
Sure. Because remind me again, like how much was UPS?
It was $50K a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my financial aid package covered, I think, $40,000 a year, $43,000 a year. And my sophomore year, I got a better one. And so I think it covered, I only had to pay $3,000 out of pocket. And at Redlands, it was about $55K a year. So not a huge price difference, but the financial aid was a lot different there. Most of my loans are because of Redlands. I ended up being really happy there and really loving it. And
There you go.
I'm glad I went.
I actually share a similar experience in that university was really hard for me because I feel, like you said, like being in that Sammy bubble where I feel like the teachers just care about you. You know what I mean? They're so passionate about every subject. I hated math in middle school. I failed one of my math classes, but when I got into Sammy and you had Dr. McCormick too. I hated math.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he was so passionate.
I
so
miss
I
him.
was
He was
like,
great.
real, and it was just a whole different world where teachers were passionate. They actually cared about students, and because our class size were so small, I think. Do you remember? Was it like 15 or 25? Something.
Yeah, 15, 20
Something
people.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were really small, so I feel like we got a lot of one-on-one time, and the teachers were able to make accommodations, and also like they could see what we were excited about and really just go the whole way there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so different. And when I got to university, it was just depressing, monotone professor speaking like this. And there was 0 ounce of passion. And I was studying life sciences and chemistry and biology, and I hated it. I was like, why is this so different? I thought I loved these subjects.
No, I was like, I had such a fun time in high school. This is horrible.
This is completely opposite of what I experienced. So I felt a lot of things I feel like that Hugh did with the growing pains and the shock, and it's just a completely different environment. So I feel like as much as I love Sammy, like I feel like we weren't prepared for the real world experiences.
We were in a utopia and we didn't realize it.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't realize until we got out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And of course, like all colleges advertise themselves as small class sizes. Our teachers are really passionate. All colleges say, so you really don't know until you get there because they all say that about these things.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of false advertisement out there. Be careful.
I was like, I thought this was supposed to be interdisciplinary. It's on the brochure.
No. I also found that it's very interesting, like the different majors that you pick, majors and minors, because I feel like a lot of people, like if they're going to go into sciences, they're just going to stick to sciences. They're not going to, the hardcore sciences, they'll just stay in that lane. They won't think about branching out and, you know, like double majoring or anything like that. But I feel like, it gives you such a much better world view of what's going on, because you need the human side and the hardcore sciences to understand so many things. It just gives you a different perspective.
The last part, you were talking about me picking my majors, and you said most people, if they pick in the science, they just stay in that one major, in that one lane. Yeah.
Like most people pick the hardcore sciences and they never think about branching out to other human sciences even, which is pretty close, or anything outside their field, because I feel like it just gives you a much broader perspective on life. And when I feel like my blog Zero Waste Cutie on Instagram really started picking up, a lot of people were intersecting climate and climate justice and their culture and just things that, because the world's experience isn't just put into a box. It's not just one thing. It's multiple things. So I feel like that was very revolutionary of you, Kelly, because not a lot of people do that. And especially with people saying, oh, maybe that's not such a good idea, or I never heard of anyone doing this to you, but you did it anyways. I feel like that was very brave, and you know what I mean?
Thanks. I was very stubborn. I did get some people who were like, is it a good idea for you to take this extra class if you don't really need it or whatever? I was like, no, I want to. It's important. It's interesting to me. And it was a different way of thinking, I think. People were like, if you're doing bioengineering, why do you need to take this government class, this policy class? I'm like, because government regulates tech, and there's government regulates healthcare. And so if I want to fix healthcare, I need to know how this works.
So I want to talk about your experience from where you started and where you are right now. So when you look at where you are right now in state government, did you ever think how did I get from here to there, going from tech and health and those kind of studies to being in state government? And also I know your career itself, you've been in different areas as well.
Yeah, no, I did not expect this at all. When I was graduating, the summer before my senior year, I did a research summer internship in Florida where I helped create a model of a program that will take a 3D model of the heart and flatten it to a 2D model. So doctors who are treating atrial fibrillation, which is a heart condition, know how to target the tools better for better care for patients. And
That's cool.
so I thought I was going to go more on the research side of that and do research, maybe academic research, maybe work in some lab somewhere was where I was thinking my career was going to go, and that's how I was going to be in that space. But when I was in that internship, I realized I hate sitting in a cold room, sitting in front of a computer, looking through hundreds of lines of codes for 8 hours a day. I was like, this actually is not my jam.
Same.
But I was like, it's my senior year. I'm not going to redo my program. And so I'm like, I'm going to graduate and I'm going to refigure this out. What I did learn from that research experience was that I really love the part where you're learning about the problem for the community or whoever has that problem, that need, and you're trying to figure out how to create the program to apply it. I love the part that's more like people facing, that's more like on the ground instead of just in the room building the actual thing. So after college, I took a break. I worked as a receptionist at a barbershop for a couple of years until I figured out where my next step was going to be. I decided that I've always been interested in policy and politics, and I was like, policy and politics are all about the people and it's all about discussions and things like that. Maybe that's where I should go. But I had no public policy background, no government background or anything like that, other than just the coursework I've done in college. And I think like student government in high school, like ages ago. So I thought the best thing to do was to try and get in as an assistant or an intern at an elected official's office, because I was like, they're at the center of that. That would be a really good place for me to learn. So I found like the Washington State's legislature's website and where the House Democratic Caucus posts their job openings. And I literally just stalked that page all the time when I was a receptionist, and I applied multiple times. It's quite competitive. A lot of people want to get in that job in the field. And on my third time that I applied for that position, I finally made it. I got an interview and I landed the job and I was so happy. So that's really how I got my start. What actually helped me was not only like my educational background, my interdisciplinary thinking, but also my customer service background. I think that kind of leads into a lot of government is knowing how to talk and interact with people, listening to people. And so that really helped me in my next job. I worked for 2 different elected officials' office. One was the Speaker of the House, and one was just the representative for one of the districts in the region. And those were different experiences because the Speaker of the House doesn't run bills. Like, they manage the party in a different way in the process. And then when I went to the other official's office, I was like, oh, I got to see the bill development process and how bill ideas happen. So that was really cool. After a while of doing a legislative assistant job, I realized I really liked being able to see the impact that we were having on people and really directly helping solve people's problems in a quicker way. Because bills, legislation, it takes years and years. It's a slow process. It's not a quick reward. It's not a really quick satisfaction. And I was like, I want to be able to do something right now to help someone and help them right now. And there's a part of your legislature's office called casework. So if you ever have a problem with your passport, your unemployment claim, or even just like something with your city or your health insurance, go contact your elected official. And usually they have someone on staff that is meant to help you with that problem or show you where you can take your problem to get help. And that's called casework. And so I transitioned to the casework team and I did casework full time, which I loved so much. It was so much fun. You learn so much of all the different agencies in government in a certain way and how they all interact, all the different regulatory bodies that take care of all these different issues. And that was really satisfying. So that was like my career and how I got started.
I was gonna say,
yeah, a lot of people like who are also legislative assistants wanted to go to law school, become a lawyer, maybe wanted to become like a executive director of a nonprofit, or wanted to one day run for elected office themselves. Some people wanted to become policy people or comms people, and I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be an elected official. I'm just here to learn and just to see how this works and like really give back to my community in a way and make a difference. I really, the time after graduating from college, wanting to go into tech, and the time when I got into working in government space, feeling a lot of frustration because of the Trump administration and stuff, and being like, there has to be some way that I can do something to help. This has to be the place that I can make a change and make a difference.
Yeah, I feel like that's so impactful because I didn't expect for Trump to be elected for the second time because the first time was already heartbreaking enough.
I was like, why? I voted no for this man 3 times. I don't know how much more I can do this.
Exactly. I thought it was over. No, here he's back again, being a menace to our society. It makes you feel powerless because it's like the president is the head figure of the whole country. It puts America in this box that we're all like this. And I don't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, it's not true. There's a lot of people who are like, this is not what we stand for. This is not what we this is not what we wanted. This is not what we voted for. There's a lot of things that are broken in the system, unfortunately. And it is really hard to fight that feeling of hopelessness because a lot of your faith is as a person. It's like, for all these other elected officials, senators and House representatives, you guys need to be ethical and do your job and stand up for the values of the people, values of democracy and stuff. So it's also like when you see those people fail you, it's like you guys are supposed to be like the holding line. You're supposed to help us. Yeah. So it gets, it's a really hard feeling to fight. And it's even now more so than ever with everything that's going on with executive orders. People are like, how do we fight back? How do we protect our communities? How do we stay engaged? Mm-hmm. And it's really hard, I think. Yeah, it's just really hard.
Yeah,
but it's worthwhile. Yeah.
But I feel like what you did there was you kind of turned your pain into purpose. Like you were like, I'm not just going to sit here and do nothing or feel like I'm not doing nothing. Even though that may have not been the case, you really channeled your like want for change into something and you took action. And I feel like that's why I really wanted to start this podcast because so many people out there are feeling hopeless right now because like, they hear of the news every day about Trump doing something. So that's why I turned off the news because I just can't anymore.
Limited doses.
It's very unhealthy. So many people are doing the good work and taking small steps and they are making changes. And like each small change, eventually when it's done by thousands of people, like it makes a huge difference. It makes like a huge wave.
That is so true. It's every conversation, every vote counts. I know a lot of people feel powerless in so many ways, but there's so many small things you can do. Voting is one of them. It really does count, especially in your local and state elections. Yeah.
It's so important. It is hard, I feel, and overwhelming for a lot of people because there is so many, it's not just like the federal election, it's like, there's like smaller, like for your county or your district. And so it can be hard to be on top of everything because there's so many people that you have to keep track of and you're like, who am I voting for? So it does take time, but I do feel like it's worth it because, these things shape so much of how we live today.
If you're not someone who's plugged into politics 24/7, your local politics, you're not going to know these elections are happening sometimes. And it is really hard to pay attention because you have so much going on in your life and you're just trying to survive. You're just trying to make dinner, take care of your kids or whatever.
Wake up the next day.
It's exhausting, and I totally get that. I was not in the politics sphere before working this job in this field, and I got in, and there are people who like know all the names of their city council. They were name dropping all these people. I was like, who? What? Why do you wait? Why are they important? Why do I need to know them? Yeah, it's like a huge learning curve, and I can see why it's hard.
Overwhelming.
You don't live and breathe it.
I wanted to ask you a bit more about your experience like growing up as a first generation Vietnamese American. Like how do you think it shaped your experience, your current and maybe your past experience? And how do you think your family changed the way your community or what you do now, like how did it change you as well?
Yeah, I think my family, I'm first generation. And so when my family immigrated to America, they only knew my uncle here and who also just immigrated a couple of years prior. And so
where are you guys like from, like the city?
In Vietnam. We're from Vietnam. My family's from Da Nang, so South Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a little beachy side city.
That's nice.
But our family are like rice farmers in the country, so that's like our background, very country, rural.
So important.
Yeah.
I love rice.
Me too. When I'm at a restaurant, I'm like, do you guys have rice as a side?
My family makes this.
Yeah, I'm like I don't want to stereotype myself, but it is important. It does make every meal better.
It does.
But and so like the immigrant community just tries to find each other and they really help each other out because you're all in the same pot of struggle. Growing up, we went to temple and temple was a great source of community. We're Buddhists. My family are Buddhists. And people come together there for food, for help, just for community. But also another thing was we had little groups. I don't even know what's the term for the correct way to call these groups, but groups of people who organize in our community to help each other out. One of the groups, I forget, I don't know if there's an English name for it, but basically if someone dies, and obviously a lot of the immigrants in our community don't have a lot of money or are poor when they first come. It costs a lot to bury a loved one. It's a lot. So everyone, this guy goes around, knocks on all the doors, and everyone does this. And it's like, hey, someone died. Can you give $20, $15? And so that was like one of the small ways I learned about like community building. Everyone chips in. Like we all have nothing, but we all help in whichever way. I think that was one of the most important ways. Like my grandma, we were low income. Like we were on food stamps. We went to the food bank often. And even then, when people came over, she would just give them food. Whoever it was, she would cook for them. Even if the cable guy was coming, she was like, here, do you want something to eat? It's like, even when you have nothing, you can still give to your community back. There's still ways to serve. And it's that trust that you help me, and I don't keep a tally of what you, but I know one day when I'm in this position, you will help me too, because it's community. We're all in this together. So I think that was like a really big way that growing up in the immigrant community really shaped me thinking about how people can help each other and what kindness and empathy community building on a really personal level is. That you just give and you just help because that's the right thing to do. And if you can help, then you should help. That's it. Yeah. And the greatest kindness is to just offer kindness without expecting anything in return. It's just like you're just doing what you should be doing as a human being for one another.
And I love that you shared that was from your grandma, because I feel like grandmas just don't want to feed everyone they see. And it's just hard. Like, it made me want to cry, but like, they really do want to feed everyone they see, because it's what they know that they can do and share, even if they have very little. I think that's so touching.
It's like my grandma was like super impactful in that. My mom was a single mom, so she was working a lot. So my grandma also helped raise me and my siblings. And so it was like I really learned a lot from her, because as an elderly Vietnamese woman in America, her community was other Vietnamese people. I remember we would go grocery shopping and we didn't have a car, so we'd be waiting for the bus stop. And she'd see a car go by, she'd be like, that person's Vietnamese, and she would flag them down. I'd be like, Grandma, what are you doing? She's like, Vietnamese, they'll help us, don't worry. And she would get these Vietnamese people, she'd be like, hey, can I get a ride home? I'm going this way. And they'd be like, yeah, they'd come in. So we would like, I can't believe, was it hitchhike? Yeah, that's the English term for it. A lot as a kid. And she was like, if they're Vietnamese, it's safe. They're going to help us because it's community. This is so stranger danger.
Oh my gosh. But they did help.
They did help.
Like, she was
and
right.
And then they became family friends. Oh. Then I would have to call these people who was a stranger the other day, uncle or auntie, whatever. And then they go to my birthday parties. We go to their gatherings. And it's like, my grandma, in the end, she adopted a lot of people, especially when they first came to Tacoma, who were fresh immigrants. And she adopted them as like sons or daughters. She would be like, hey, come to my house for food and stuff. Like, yeah, she really was able to create a whole community hub and stuff. And so it took me a while to understand that a lot of these people I grew up with, who I thought were aunts and uncles, but I have so many aunts and uncles. Yeah. They're actually not blood related. She adopted them all, and it's also just a way that we speak in Vietnamese to like elders as well. So it was like a mix of that.
Yeah. Who's actually my blood relative? I guess it doesn't matter. We're all family.
Yeah, I know. And I think that speaks to the way that you think of community and how you're all related. Everyone's an aunt and uncle to you. It doesn't matter. Everyone's a niece or nephew to you in the way that you call them with that term of endearment.
And I feel like that's the way it should be, because I feel like we're so separated now that we're all like in our homes, like on our phones. We're not connecting to other people. And if you think of other people instead of, because a lot of people watch the news, they always think, oh, what if that person stabs me or steals from me, or like all these negative things. If you give them hopefully the benefit of the doubt, then we can build more of a community, which is really lost now these days. Like, everyone's just
it really isolated. Is. Yeah, I feel very strongly about that. I feel like you have to, it's really hard in this modern day and age, but you do have to give trust that the person at the cafe really is going to watch your laptop for you.
Yeah.
Just even like the small things. We need to have so much faith in strangers for a safe community, for a healthy community, that we're all going to do the right thing. And building that trust is hard. And also it's like, we also have to understand like that person, that homeless person on the street, you're always so much closer in the time of wealth inequality to being that person homeless on the street. That person could have been your neighbor. That person could have been you. And to have like empathy, community towards that. And just humanity towards them and their situation. I think is also so important. I feel like so many people in our community now is like trying to distance themselves from other people, either emotionally or physically, and that just doesn't help build community if you're just trying to further stratify the area and close yourself off from one another instead of being like, we're all in this, we can all help one another, let's figure this out.
Yeah, I feel like we need your grandma to come guide us.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that person's, and spread it out further. Hey, that person's Asian, they'll help us. Why
come here.
Or even further, like anyone. I think that's, but it just goes to show like how she grew up and how, that really shaped your life as well. So, in a positive way, I feel. So, yeah, that's really awesome. So I feel like you touched on this a bit earlier on how people can make change from where they sit, whether they just be a normal person on the street, or they're going about their day, they're going to work. You said voting was one of them. I think education was important that you highlighted, that what the options are out there for you. Okay, so today's sponsor is Kind Laundry. Just kidding, they're not really a sponsor, but I do have an affiliate code. Kind Laundry use natural ingredients, and it actually comes in these sheets. So much more useful than liquid laundry detergent because that stuff gets messy. With Kind Laundry, you can bring this anywhere. It's literally in a box, pack in your suitcase, and it's that easy. You can get 10% off by using code ZeroWasteCute. Is there anything else that you could give the listeners advice on how they can create change?
Yeah, I think one of the ways is just staying informed. Basically, if you find out who your elected officials are and go on their website and subscribe to their newsletters. And this is how you can stay informed about like some of the bills that your elected officials are working on. And so if you can subscribe to newsletters or read your local newspaper. There's lots of different local news sources, and it's really good that in democracy we really support them because they're going to be the ones that are reporting on your local politics and local issues, and they really help reach out to the community and stay informed. So it's really important that we support those. And also, just stay informed. Bad faith actors are really relying on us as the public to not be paying attention, to just lay down and let them roll on over us with their things. If we're paying attention, we're being informed. The best democracy is the most informed public. It's going to really help a lot when it comes to having conversations with other people, when it comes to voting, when it comes to understanding what's actually being done to our infrastructure and what's actually going on, and to be able to see past some of the propaganda or the marketing language that's being thrown at you. So I think that's really like a good way to stay involved. And number one is volunteering, connecting with local organizations. So if you Google just nonprofit that supports immigrants' rights or disability rights or queer rights or whatever it is, or nonprofit that does environmental activism in my area, sometimes there's like local clubs that all they do is maybe they help like plant trees. Some clubs will actually send their people to whatever's your state capital or maybe your country's capital for legislative advocacy days, and on those days you get to meet with representatives or their staff to talk about issues, and that's really a good way to advocate for things and get involved. You can make small donations to also these organizations. Sometimes just donating $10 is like helpful. That helps them fund like maybe a bus pass for someone, or buy a meal for someone, or buy shoes or an item, or if they have events, sometimes they'll have community events to show support. Those are really easy things. And voting is really important. And I know voting is so overwhelming because you don't know who are all these people on, what are all these names on the signs on other people's front lawns. You're like, what is this? One hack I figured out is if you're a progressive voter, or you can look up progressive voting guide, usually maybe a local magazine, like here in Seattle area, The Stranger and Fuse Washington. They publish voting guides to where if you're a progressive person or a Democrat, you can read through. They tell you, here are the 2 choices or 3 choices. Here's what we think about them. Here's what you should know about them. It really condenses the whole campaign cycle into really easy bite of information. So you can just have that list and go through your ballot, be like, do I like that or not? No. And that's a really easy way to make sure you vote and you know who you're voting for and make an informed decision without having to be plugged in every second of the day. Those are, I think, because I know voter fatigue is a real thing, because, we don't have all our elections at the same time. Judge elections, they're all different years. So that's another important way to make change. And I also think like the most impactful way to make change in your community is just talking to one another. I feel like we're in a time where people are feeling really lonely, disconnected, stressed. And I think it's just really important that we just talk to one another.
Drop the mic.
Say hi to your neighbor. Be like, just good morning. These really small bits of social interaction that seem so like you think are not important, over time, it really builds something and creates something like, I don't know, when you're on a hike and everyone's good morning, good day, or you're almost there. Yeah. They don't need to say that. We're all strangers. We're all on our own, literally, journey through this mountain. But saying that creates like a nice vibe and feeling. You're like, wow, thank you. So you say good morning back and you feel better. You feel like you're in community, don't you?
Yeah, makes you feel welcome.
Like, yeah. And it's like all these really small things. So you don't have to knock on people's doors and ask for sugar. Okay, maybe not everyone's open to that. But you
that sounds really wrong.
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far. Okay, I'm not that brave yet. But if I see someone, I'm like, hi, good morning. Or just nod and smile. You can just nod and smile. If someone's trying to make small talk with you and you have 2 minutes of your day, it's okay to listen to them. Yeah, talk to your friends, talk to your family, text the people you love. And if you're with them and you want to have these discussions, you can talking about these things. Most people do value the opinions of friends and family. It is a really, you do have a lot of influence over your community in that way, direct way, right? Talking to your friend, debating about a topic, or being like, I just learned this. Did you hear about this? Or actually, this seems to work this way. Yeah, I think that is. And also, I guess the last way is if you have an opinion on something, just contact your elected official. Email them, call them, mail them, whatever. They're there to listen to you. Go ahead and bother them. It's also one of the most impactful ways that you can register your opinion on a topic. Some offices keep track of what issues people call in about, how people feel about things. And also, I learned in my job that sometimes bills are developed from people's suggestions. We had a constituent who had a suggestion about hepatitis B, C screening, and we worked with them on a bill to develop that and pass that bill. So sometimes you can actually drive things to happen. Maybe you just have to work with the right elected official who works on that topic, but just sending it in is worthwhile. There's all these little acts, and they really add up to help create something big, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like with
Sorry,
that last
I rambled for too long.
No, this is great. I feel like that's your strength, and you provide a lot of good information through it. So you're doing great. But I was gonna say, the first time I heard about, so in Canada, I don't know if it's the same in the U.S., but sometimes when they put out like, I guess, bills or changes they want to make to like an old like law or something, they sometimes put out a poll that people can comment and make suggestions. I was talking to one of my university friends who got an internship with the government, and they said that they would literally keep a tally of what people thought. And I thought that was important because they actually can use that information to act as like a mini vote or something that can help drive change, which I think is really important. So another thing that you said was voting. I wish with the votes, because whenever you go voting, you only just see their name. It's never I wish there was I feel like in the future, because right now it's a little controversial, but Facebook and I guess Meta and other companies are making glasses, or they've already made glasses where you look at something and it tells you what it is and what it does. But I feel like in the future, when you go to vote, you'll be able to see, what this person stands for. Maybe it would be nice if it was in bullet points. Oh, these are their campaign. No, okay, now I know who I should vote for, or at least lean towards one person instead of guessing based on their name.
Yeah, based on
you have
vibes.
No idea.
Yeah, so it's really hard. Even in Washington, we're really lucky because Washington has it's really accessible in voting. We have mail-in voting. When you get your driver's license, you can ask to be registered to vote when you turn 18 or whatever. There's lots of ways that we make really voting accessible in Washington State. And one of them is, I learned that this wasn't normal everywhere, but in Washington State, you get a voter's pamphlet before your ballot comes, and you can look through and see all the candidates. So sometimes you can look through and read them. They're not always supposed to, just some candidates. Anyone can be a candidate as long as they're eligible. Yeah. I would say some kind of funny things. Yeah, I think one guy was running for some council position, and previous experience, he was I worked at my mom's business or something. Or he was previous experience was I just like to go outside. I know a lot about the environment. I go outside.
He's an expert now that he goes outside.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I love the confidence, but I'm gonna need more as a voter. I'm gonna need a little bit more than that. So that's also a good resource. If your state has it, look up what your country or region or province or state, what they have available in resources. But yeah, it is really, I wish there was a better way to summarize information. Because there's literally just so much.
Just too much.
I literally don't know anything. Seattle has an upcoming mayor's race. I don't know much about these people. I'm going to be honest with you. Even though I'm in this space, I know certain names are good and bad, but could I tell you everything about them? No. That's on voting day. I'm on their website. I'm on the voter's guide.
It's just a lot of information. So I feel like we need to find a balance in that. I feel like the pamphlet guide, I guess like not a lot of states or cities. Is it based on cities that do that? Or I don't know.
Washington State does it because there's one from Pierce County and King County. I don't know if I was sharing this with another friend of mine in California. I guess they were like, whoa, what's this? Or maybe my friend hasn't ever noticed it in the mail. It gets thrown away.
Maybe she just gets it. Or maybe she doesn't get it.
Yeah, maybe you think it's just like some random booklet you throw away. You don't realize what it is because honestly, it doesn't look fancy. Yeah. It's not in an envelope. Like the ones we get, it looks like it's really old newspaper. It's like newspaper papers, all black and white and gray. So you're like, oh, whatever. The city just sent me some random junk. I already know that election. You're like,
toss it in the recycling.
You're like, you're looking out for your ballot, but so you're like, it doesn't seem official. So I can understand why a lot of people don't know about it, but.
Yeah, that's true. They should make like better advertisements for it. Did you get your voters pamphlet?
Yeah, they should. I feel like
where's the ads and stuff.
I feel like government and all could do like a better advertising job of services and things.
For real. Because I feel like you don't find out unless you talk to your neighbor, which is another reason why you should talk to your neighbors and people out there. Because we need to know.
Yeah, we need to get the government. Let's get on TikTok. Let's get on TikTok. You need to get in the algorithm. Let people know what you're doing here.
What are you providing? Like, where is our tax dollars going to?
I learned a lot about budget and tax dollars in this job, and that was really fun. People get really upset about taxes. A lot of people thought that when we raise taxes, it's to give our raise to our own salary. That's actually not how taxes and government money works.
Okay.
Your taxes are legally bound to go to very specific pockets and specific accounts. So when there's a budget issue, you can't just, it's not like budgeting for your own household. That money was legally earmarked for that specific purpose. So you can't touch it. We can't pay ourselves more from that money. Another fun thing is you should Google and look up how your legislators get paid. And if you vote for their pay increase, or do they get paid by an independent commission? In Washington State, they get their salary from an independent commission that the voters approve. The voters had a chance to be like, should I approve their raises or should I let a commission do it? The voters went for that. So it's funny when we get emails that is like, you just want to raise my taxes to buy yourself another mansion. It's actually, your taxes don't go towards that, and you vote to have someone else decide this stuff. So yeah, we can't get involved. But yeah, learning about budget and taxes is actually a really impactful way to also create change and just understand where your taxes are going. There's some groups that make infographics for it so that you can always also just email your elected official and ask, hey, how do my tax dollars work? Where is my tax money going to when it's this? Another thing is like property taxes. At least in Washington State, your property tax isn't completely decided solely by the state. A lot of it's impacted by your local county, your local city. And a lot of the reason why your property taxes are getting increases, I know people get really upset about this because it's really painful to have to pay like extra thousands of dollars every year. You can't predict it, especially if you're on a fixed income. But it's because housing scarcity. It's like you have less houses in the area. So now your house increases in value and your property tax is based off the value of your house. As your house increases in value, your property tax is going to increase in value. So that's like a housing supply issue. There's so much little things that once you like learn and understand. And if you're ever in trouble with your property tax, or you're like on fixed income or senior citizen or disabled and you're like, I can't afford my property tax, email your local legislator. Sometimes there's a bill that's been passed or a program that actually helps cap your property tax, and that can help you out. There's lots of little things that people don't know about, like advertising government, that if you email or contact your city or county asking for help, someone should get you an answer. Someone should be able to help you. Be like, there's this program you can do. There's this that can help pay for that. Yeah, highly recommend just bothering your elected people in your government for help and asking.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of information out there that,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by contacting their local like representative because it can be a little intimidating by their title or anything like that. But it's not. You just send an email or give a call, and it can be very casual. And
if you give a call, always leave your first and last name and your phone number or an email address so we can get back to you. If you email, you don't need anything. You say, "Dear Representative," comma, and just say what you need to say and let us know what's the best way to contact you back or get back to you. It does feel intimidating because you're like, they're elected official. I'm going to be honest, for someone who works with them, has worked with them, they're just like you, everyday people. Just basic respect and you're all good. You don't have to salute or bow down. Like, it's okay. It's okay just to be like, "Hi, I need help. Can you help me with this?" It's okay to just email normally. You don't have to worry about using super fancy lingo or language. They're there for you, to help you and talk to you. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I think that a lot of people feel like there's like a huge barrier between the people who represent them and like themselves.
In some ways they're not wrong, but in some ways they're not right either. Like, just because there's a barrier, don't let that stop you from reaching out. Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel like we touched on this, but do you have more on what effective advocacy looks like to you? Like, I know you talked about what you do through your career and being educated and things like that.
I think for me, effective advocacy looks like being organized, persistent, and having a plan. Legislation change takes a long time. So if you're the first time you try and get an initiative passed, it doesn't pass, that's okay. Keep working on educating the public. Figure out ways to do public campaigns, partner with other organizations. If you have an idea, there probably is someone else that's trying to work on the same thing. Team up with them. I think having a plan, being organized. I've heard conversations where sometimes certain advocacy groups, the reason why their bill might not have passed is because they weren't as organized or didn't have a coherent message. There's all these little things that help move a bill or a piece of legislation forward in the process. In the legislative process, at least here in Washington State, when legislative session starts, unlike our national government in America, your state government is only in session for a certain amount of time, and that's determined by your state constitution. So it varies from state to state. For us in Washington, we're basically like January through April is when we're in session, and that's when we can actually pass bills and do that. Outside of that time period, you can't vote on bills unless you're called into a special session. If you're in Washington State, January, maybe December, January, get on your legislative website or whatever, and you can look at the bills on the website by topic and see what's happening. And you can also testify for the bill. So not everyone can come to Olympia, workload for people, but you can comment on bills. You can submit a written testimony. You can email your testimony to committee members. So there's still ways, if you want to, you can come in person and sit in on these committee hearings and hear how they run through the bills. All these sessions are also recorded. So you can also, if you're interested in this stuff and you're bored, say you want to know what the environmental committee was doing like last year. You can look through and watch them all. They might be boring. They might not be. There's agendas that get released, so you can look at the agendas and see what bills are being talked about beforehand, so you know which sessions you want to listen to or participate in. You can also, if there's a bill that you feel really importantly about, you can track that bill, get newsletters about that bill and through its process. So that way you're notified about what's happening with the bill in your email inbox, so you don't have to check the website every day. I don't know how our website compares to other states, but I think go on your legislative website and play around, because sometimes there's some cool features that can help you be informed and help you know what bills are going on and let you know when you can participate in the legislative process. If you're working with an advocacy group, sometimes they'll need to call people for testimony. You can volunteer to be one of those people that come and provide testimonies virtually or in person for whatever issue you're advocating for. That's a really good way to volunteer your time, because if you can't volunteer like regularly, at least like once a year or every other year, you can do that. And it's just for one day. Your testimonies are usually like 20 minutes or less, so it's really short. Yeah, I think organization is a really important key to advocacy, knowing how to organize people together and use people's different strengths and stuff.
Are there specific examples of advocacy work that you've seen that really inspired you?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites was, so Washington recently just passed like a cap on rent increases, rent control basically, and that was a piece of legislation that I felt really strong about. I really supported it and I was really excited to see it pass, but it took a couple years, and I think it was really great how that elected official that worked on that bill held roundtables, so where other of their colleagues, other elected officials would sit and hear in person in the same room stories from people who were struggling with rent increases and what it was doing, how it paid versus homelessness. I think that really face-to-face conversation was really impactful for this issue, because a lot of people, the elected officials, members of the House and the Senate, are homeowners. And so it's been a while since they've been in the rental market, and they just don't understand what renters are going through. And so it was like, I think that was a really impactful way to be like, listen, this is real. This impacts people of all different occupations, and really just bring that issue home. That face-to-face conversation is really impactful, I think, as well. When you're meeting with elected officials, if you can just bring in someone with that lived experience and just have that conversation about, make the issue personal, I think it's also really moving and important too. So that was like one advocacy that I thought was really great. There was a Strippers Are Workers campaign that had made some big movements to basically get like strippers the same worker protection rights as other workers in Washington State, which is really important. They should have these protections. They should be able to have a safe work environment. And so, yeah, they did. That took a couple years, just seeing that journey and the persistence in that journey and the organizing behind that, I thought was really amazing. Yeah. So I think those are some examples off the top of my head.
I feel especially what you said earlier about how a lot of people are renting now, it's become uncommon to own like a house these days, just because of how expensive it is. I know that's the case here in Canada, because the houses are like over $1 million. It's like, how can you afford a house these days, especially with the pay rate we're getting and how expensive things are in general? I feel like that was important for them to hear other people's stories of what they're going through, because like you said, they're not renting themselves. They already own. They probably don't understand what's happening. So,
I feel like, when you're face to face and you hear how someone is struggling, how not having these protection controls is impacting them, I think it's just really hard to be like, no, sorry, I still think you're fine. You have to recognize like this hurts people, and there's a reason why this is important discussion to have. I think it's also just important for them to just hear from real life people and their constituents in such a personal manner and connect on that manner and be like, there's a face to this problem, there's a name to this problem. Yeah.
It makes it so much more impactful to hear the story from the person directly. So, I think that's so important. And I feel like all workers need like workers' rights. Like it should just be a basic thing that's like, given.
Yeah, it's all important. And I just feel like, it is really impactful to have that. Those meetings, that's advocacy. Join lobby days if you can, if your advocacy group or what organization have lobby days, so you can meet your elected official or talk to their staff. Sometimes it's still impactful to even talk to their staff, right? The staff gives the message back to their person. And so that's still important as well. I remember I took a lot of meetings on behalf of my representative, and that was also one of my favorite parts, just meeting with people and talk to them. And also like meeting with lobbyists and just seeing what they're advocating for, what questions they have. And you can also ask them questions in these meetings as well, your elected officials. Be like, how does this work, or what's this? You can get some information and have that be a really good conversation for you as well.
I feel like a lot of people don't know about these things, so I think a lot of the listeners will be at least more informed and hopefully take some action. So what keeps you hopeful or grounded when the political process feels hard or slow? Because I know it can feel like that a lot of the time.
That is actually like a really big question I've been wrestling with lately, especially with this year and everything happening. It feels really hard to feel hopeful at times, but the thing that does keep me going, I think, is just seeing all the ways that regular people like me stand up for what they believe in, whether it's seeing people show up to donate groceries so immigrant families, undocumented immigrant families, can still get food because they are afraid to leave their house. They're being taken off the streets.
It's scary.
I think seeing people show up for their community, I think it's always the most inspirational, hopeful thing in the world. Seeing acts of kindness, honestly. I was like in a professional development camp, and they asked us, they were like, who's your political hero, basically? Who's your role model? And everyone was listening. Some people were like, Obama. Some people are like, Roosevelt, whatever. Just all these politicians and things. And then they got to me, and I was like, yeah, some of these people have done great stuff, but they're not my role model. I don't feel they're not my anchor that I look up to. Honestly, my friends, I have a friend, Emily. She is so great at teaching me things, keeping me hopeful, keeping me remember feeling I'm empowered because of the way she engages with her community. Also you as well, Elizabeth, because of the way, the platform that you've built to talk to people. These are the people that I'm like, honestly, at the end of the day, the world's going to be okay, because if we have people like you guys and all these other regular people showing up for their communities and standing up for what they believe in, we're going to be okay as long as we don't give up the fight. That sounds like such a cliche, don't give up the fight, but it really is. True. Like, remember your dreams. Remember that these dreams can be accomplished. They can be. It's totally feasible. It's not something that you have to bury under your bed. We can still make progress towards being like net zero emissions. We can still make progress towards the ideals that we love. It's just harder now, but don't give up on those, because it can happen. We just have to remember and push for it. And every slow inch of progress is still an inch forward. It's an inch we never would have made, and it's still important. Even if we don't see the results in our lifetime, I hope to have faith that my great-grandchildren will see the world that we dreamed of now. So, yeah.
That was beautiful. Thank you. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel everyday people are really the true heroes, because they're not on camera. They're not doing it for publicity or anything like that. They're just doing it just because they're human beings who want to be kind to other people. And,
yeah.
It is really inspiring to see that in person. And it inspires you to do better, and to also see that there are good people out in this world, and it's not just the news where we're just stabbing people. There are so many good people in this world, and we just have to look for that. So, looking ahead, what's next for you in your journey as a thoughtful advocate? What do you hope to do next? Maybe you don't know.
I now want to work at the county or city level of government. There's different mechanisms there, so sometimes you can make changes faster and it impacts people differently. So I really want to learn about that, and maybe one day work for a state agency on the professional side. Personally, for me right now, I think my next journey is just reaching out and being more present in my community. I think I've been busy with work and just spending more, just friends with family, getting involved in organizations, but also being creative and being informed, and I don't know, just taking care of the people around me. I don't know if that was phrased well, but yeah, I think that for me, that's part of like my advocacy, is taking care of the little bits that I can, showing up where I can and where I have energy to, and just filling those buckets more.
I feel like, yeah, like a lot of people don't know what's next for them, and that's okay, but I feel like with the experience that you have, and you do have some kind of idea, because I feel like with job titles, you don't really know what it's about until you actually go in and do it, just like you're experiencing right now. Yeah. And I feel the same way. So I think that's really exciting that you want to continue your journey in government work, because I feel like it is important. And a lot of people say government is lazy and slow and whatever, but they are in charge of passing bills and all these important things. So it is important work. And we need people like you who actually care and are moving the needle. So I think that's very inspiring. And I hope you guys felt inspired as much as I did by Kelly's story. She has so much honesty and wisdom and heart, and you can really tell these stories are really inspiring to her and have inspired her through her journey. And that reminds us that being a thoughtful advocate doesn't always mean standing in front of a protest or giving big speeches in large crowds. Sometimes it means doing the steady work in our communities, whether that's through the actual work that you do, showing up for when these bills are passed. Maybe you're just a commentator. That counts too. Like, these small steps may seem small, but they have huge impact over time. And I feel like that's what I really pulled from what you've said today. And yeah, I think that's important. So thanks for listening, everyone, to The Thoughtful Advocate.